The first sign of the Council's arrival wasn't their ships, it was the silence. Birds stopped singing. Dogs ceased barking, and the constant hum of human activity stuttered to a halt as humanity collectively held its breath. Then came the shadows, massive and geometric, sliding across cities like dark glaciers made of light-drinking crystal. New York, London, Beijing, Moscow. Every major metropolitan area found itself beneath these hovering monuments to alien advancement. The crystalline vessels defied conventional physics, their translucent hulls refracting sunlight in impossible ways that made them appear both solid and ethereal. Each ship stretched nearly 2 miles in length, their faceted surfaces catching and splitting light into rainbow cascades that dazzled and disoriented Earth's observers. At precisely 3:47 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time, the Council made their presence known on every screen, every device, and every broadcasting frequency worldwide. High-speaker Zixtal's form rippled like liquid glass as it materialized in perfect holographic detail. Its crystalline body structure, reminiscent of a praying mantis crafted from diamond, towered over the human delegates gathered at the United Nations. Species 7294b, designation, human. Zixtal's voice resonated with artificial translation harmonics. The Galactic Council recognizes your achievement of rudimentary spaceflight and atomic manipulation. As per Council Directive 47 Alpha, you are hereby offered protection and limited technological guidance in exchange for annual tribute. The assembled human leaders maintained carefully neutral expressions. Behind their diplomatic masks, centuries of preparation hung in the balance. President Sarah Mitchell's hand tightened almost imperceptibly on her armrest, but she kept her voice steady. "We are honored by the Council's attention. Please elaborate on the nature of this tribute." Zixtal's crystalline form shifted, producing a sound like wind chimes that the humans would later learn was laughter. "Your species will provide quantities of rare earth elements, particularly lanthanides and actinides. Additionally, you will submit any technological innovations for Council review and implementation. This is a generous offer. Many species are simply harvested for resources." In the observation gallery, General Marcus Hayes fought to keep his expression neutral. The Council's arrogance was exactly as their intercepted communications had suggested. Humanity had spent decades preparing for this moment, building their response on the foundation of the Council's own hubris. "You have 1 standard lunar cycle to prepare your first tribute," Zixtal continued. "This time frame is unusually generous, reflecting the Council's benevolence. Failure to comply will result in administrative action." The hologram rippled again, its crystalline features catching the light. "We suggest you use this time wisely." As the hologram faded, the assembled human leaders maintained their facade of concerned deliberation. Only when the last crystal ship had moved beyond immediate surveillance range did President Mitchell allow herself a small smile. She activated her quantum-encrypted communicator, a device that shouldn't have existed according to the Council's assessment of human technology. "Operation Looking Glass is a go," she transmitted. "All units proceed according to plan." Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, in bunkers shielded from even the Council's advanced scanning technology, humanity's real response was already spinning up. Quantum computers processed decades of intercepted Council communications. Engineered nanotech, designed to interface with crystalline technology, stood ready for deployment. Earth's apparent vulnerability was its greatest weapon, a deception decades in the making. The Council's demand for tribute would prove to be their greatest tactical error. They had assumed Earth was like every other emerging civilization they'd encountered. They never considered that humanity had been watching, learning, and preparing. They didn't realize that their perfect crystalline ships, their advanced technology, and their entire tribute system had already been compromised. In 1 month, the Council would learn why assuming human inferiority was a fatal mistake. But for now, Earth would play its role. The humble, newly discovered civilization, grateful for the Council's generous offer. Let them think their shadows inspired fear. Let them believe their technology was beyond human comprehension. The trap was set, and the Council had walked right into it. Dr. Jessica Morgan stood in the heart of Echo Base, 3 miles beneath the Rocky Mountains, surrounded by hovering holographic displays that bathed her face in ethereal blue light. Each screen showed a different aspect of humanity's carefully concealed capabilities. Capabilities that would make the Council's crystalline ships look like children's toys. "Status report on Project Thermos," she commanded, her voice echoing through the cavernous chamber. The quantum computers lining the walls hummed in perfect harmony, a sound that had taken engineers decades to perfect. Not for efficiency, but for deception. Any scanning technology would register it as natural geothermal activity. Lieutenant Sarah Parker stepped forward, her uniform bearing no insignia or markings. Like everything in Echo Base, anonymity was their shield. The quantum disruptors are calibrated to match the Council's crystal matrix frequencies. Testing shows a 97% degradation rate on captured samples. We can essentially turn their ships into space dust with a focused pulse. The display shifted, showing a 3-dimensional representation of a Council vessel. Its crystalline structure was beautiful, but Dr. Morgan saw only weaknesses, points where the lattice could be shattered, frequencies that could unravel their molecular bonds, vulnerabilities that the Council never imagined humans could discover, let alone exploit. And our lunar facilities. Dr. Morgan's fingers danced through the holographic interface, pulling up new data streams. "Ghost Fleet is ready," Lieutenant Parker replied. 37 ships equipped with metamaterial cloaking systems. The Council's sensors read them as natural lunar formations. Commander Reynolds reports all crews are on standby. Dr. Morgan nodded, remembering the day they'd cracked the Council's basic encryption 20 years ago. It had been like finding a Rosetta Stone for galactic technology. Every transmission they intercepted afterward became another piece in humanity's secret arsenal. A soft chime indicated an incoming transmission from the surface. President Mitchell's face appeared on the main display, her expression grave. "Dr. Morgan, the Council's representatives are planning their first inspection of our facilities tomorrow. Are we ready?" "Operation Masquerade is in place, Madam President." Dr. Morgan pulled up another display, showing carefully constructed fake research facilities around the globe. They'll see exactly what they expect. Primitive attempts at quantum mechanics, basic particle physics, and clumsy robotics. The kind of technology they'd expect from a young species. And they won't detect Echo Base. Dr. Morgan allowed herself a small smile. "We reversed engineered their scanning technology 15 years ago. The entire facility is wrapped in quantum fields that make it appear as natural rock formations. We could set off a nuclear device down here, and they'd register it as normal tectonic activity." The president nodded. "Keep me updated." Mitchell out. As the transmission ended, Dr. Morgan turned to the newest addition to their arsenal. In a magnetically sealed chamber, suspended in a field of pure energy, floated what appeared to be a simple glass sphere. But within its crystalline structure lurked humanity's most ambitious creation, a quantum virus programmed to infiltrate and rewrite the very foundation of Council technology. "Begin final diagnostics on the Mockingbird protocol," she ordered. The sphere pulsed with inner light as billions of quantum calculations processed simultaneously. This was humanity's true tribute to the Council, a gift they would never see coming. Lieutenant Parker checked the readings. Neural pathways are stable. The virus can replicate through their quantum networks at 6 times the speed of their best security protocols. Once it's in their system, they won't be able to stop it. Dr. Morgan walked to the observation window overlooking the main hangar. Below, rows of ships sat ready, vessels built with technology that combined human innovation with reversed engineered Council science. They weren't just copies, they were evolutions, improvements that the Council, in their arrogance, had never considered. "Send word to all bases," she commanded. "Operation Looking Glass enters Phase 2 at dawn. Let's show our guests exactly what they expect to see. Nothing more, nothing less." In the depths of Echo Base, humanity's hidden arsenal waited. The council thought they were coming to inspect a primitive species. Instead, they were walking into the most elaborate trap ever conceived. In 30 days, their entire understanding of human capability would be shattered. And Dr. Jessica Morgan would have a front-row seat to the show. Commander Jack Cooper stood at the base of the crystalline ship, his diplomatic smile carefully masking years of special operations training. Beside him, Zixtal's assistant, a being that resembled a sculpture of flowing glass, gestured toward the vessel's entrance with what passed for pride among their species. "We welcome you to witness the glory of Council engineering." The translator rendered the creature's wind chime voice into English. "Few species are granted such an honor." "We're deeply grateful," Cooper replied, adjusting his seemingly primitive tablet computer. In reality, the device housed some of the most advanced scanning technology ever created by human hands. "Our scientists are particularly interested in your atmospheric processing systems." Behind him, a team of 20 cultural ambassadors, all highly trained covert operatives, spread out through the authorized areas of the ship. Each carried seemingly innocent pieces of equipment that were actually delivering payloads of microscopic nanobots into the vessel's crystal matrix. In his earpiece, Dr. Morgan's voice whispered from Echo Base. "Primary dispersal units are online. Environmental systems are picking up the nanobots as natural Earth bacteria. Their filters aren't even activating." Cooper maintained his expression of polite interest as their guide led them through crystal corridors that hummed with energy. The nanobots, each smaller than a human cell, were already multiplying, spreading through the ship's ventilation system. Engineered to mimic common Earth microorganisms, they passed through the Council's biofilters undetected. "Your artificial lighting is quite primitive," the guide noted, indicating Cooper's flashlight. "Perhaps in time, the Council will grant you access to basic crystal technology." "That would be most generous," Cooper replied, suppressing a smile. The flashlight was actually directing the nanobot spread, its beam carrying coded instructions through quantum-entangled particles. In the ship's main engineering section, Lieutenant Maria Rodriguez, disguised as a cultural attaché, activated her tablet's scanning function. "Echo Base, we're getting full readings of their power distribution network. The crystal matrices are exactly where our intercepted data suggested." The Council guide proudly displayed their engine core, a massive crystal structure pulsing with energy. "Your species cannot begin to comprehend the principles behind our quantum crystal drive." Cooper watched as invisible clouds of nanobots settled into the crystal lattice of the engine. Within hours, they would map every circuit, every power conduit, every weakness in the mighty vessel. The Council's pride in their technology was becoming their greatest vulnerability. "Fascinating," Cooper said, playing his role perfectly. "Though I admit much of it is beyond our current understanding." Back on Earth, in a secured conference room, President Mitchell watched the operation's progress through encrypted feeds. "Dr. Morgan, status report." "Infiltration is proceeding exactly as planned," Morgan's voice came through. "The nanobots are replicating at optimal rates. Within 48 hours, they'll have established colonies throughout the entire Council fleet. Every ship that's landed for these cultural exchanges is being seeded." Cooper's team completed their tour, exchanging pleasantries with their oblivious hosts. As they descended the crystal gangway, Cooper's tablet showed the nanobot concentration levels throughout the ship. Billions of microscopic infiltrators, all sending data back to Echo Base through quantum channels the Council didn't even know existed. Phase 3 completion confirmed, Cooper subvocalized into his hidden communicator. "All primary targets have been seeded, moving to secondary objectives." In orbit, more Council ships arrived daily, each one landing to conduct their own inspections of Earth's facilities, each one receiving its own invisible payload of nanobots. The Council's fleet, their mighty armada of crystal ships, was becoming humanity's greatest intelligence network. Dr. Morgan's voice held a note of satisfaction as she updated the president. "Every nanobot is a sensor, every crystal circuit they touch becomes our eyes and ears. When the time comes, We'll know their ships better than they do." The Council had come to Earth expecting tribute. Instead, they were giving humanity unrestricted access to their most closely guarded secrets. Their crystalline ships, symbols of their technological superiority, were becoming their greatest weakness. And they didn't suspect a thing. The United Nations Grand Assembly Hall gleamed under crystalline lights installed by the Council for the tribute ceremony. Dr. Amanda Williams approached the central podium, carrying what appeared to be a simple data crystal. Its rough-cut edges and cloudy interior perfectly mimicked early human attempts at crystal technology. The Council representatives, seated in the front row, shifted with barely concealed disdain. High Speaker Zixtal's crystalline form towered over the human delegation. "Present your offering, Species 7294B." Amanda held up the crystal, letting it catch the light. Inside Echo Base, Dr. Morgan and her team watched through quantum-encrypted feeds, monitoring every microsecond of the operation. The crystal in Amanda's hands contained humanity's deadliest digital weapon, a virus evolved from the most aggressive data-consuming algorithms ever created. "Honorable Speaker," Amanda began, her voice carrying the perfect note of humility. "We offer this data crystal containing our species' technological achievements. While primitive by Council standards, we hope our innovations might prove useful." Commander Cooper, positioned among the security detail, tracked the nanobots they'd previously planted. They were already responding to the crystal's presence, preparing to create pathways for the virus to spread. Zixtal's assistant reached for the crystal with a crystalline appendage. "We will evaluate your submission for any useful elements." The tone carried clear expectations of finding none. Amanda released the crystal, and decades of preparation hung on this moment. The crystal passed through 3 sets of hands before reaching Zixtal, each council member handling it with increasing disinterest. Finally, the High Speaker inserted it into a port on their ceremonial podium. In Echo Base, Dr. Morgan's displays erupted with activity. "Virus deployment initiated," she reported to President Mitchell. "Phase 1 infiltration successful." The Council's system began copying what they believed to be primitive human innovations. Instead, the virus slipped through their security protocols like water through sand. It was designed to mimic their own data patterns so perfectly that their systems welcomed it as native code. "We thank you for your contribution," Zixtal announced, already turning away. "The Council will review." The High Speaker paused, crystalline form shimmering with sudden interest. "This is unexpected." Amanda maintained her carefully crafted expression of anticipation. "Have you found something of value, Honorable Speaker?" The virus was already deep in their systems, multiplying through quantum pathways, copying vast amounts of Council data, while simultaneously implanting false information about Earth's capabilities. Every security measure it encountered had been predicted and countered through years of studying intercepted Council transmissions. "There are elements here that show promise," Zixtal admitted, crystal surface rippling with confusion. "Your understanding of molecular bonds is more advanced than initial scans suggested." In the secured command center beneath the UN building, President Mitchell watched the operation unfold. "Status report," she subvocalized to Dr. Morgan. "The virus has achieved 60% penetration of their local networks," Morgan replied. "They're seeing exactly what we want them to see, carefully crafted breadcrumbs that suggest we're more advanced than expected, but not advanced enough to be a threat." The ceremony continued, with Council members now paying closer attention to the human delegation. Their initial dismissal was being replaced by cautious curiosity, exactly as planned. Meanwhile, the virus spread through their quantum networks, infecting ship after ship, system after system. Amanda concluded her presentation with a perfectly choreographed display of gratitude. "We look forward to learning from the Council's wisdom," she said, bowing slightly. As the ceremony ended, Zixtal approached President Mitchell directly. "An unprecedented gesture. Your species shows unexpected potential. Perhaps we should discuss accelerated integration into Council systems." "We would be honored," Mitchell replied, knowing that their systems were already being integrated in ways the Council never intended. Back in Echo Base, Dr. Morgan watched the virus progress across her displays. The Council's entire information network was being subtly reshaped, their understanding of Earth being carefully manipulated. They thought they were evaluating humanity's potential. Instead, humanity was rewriting the rules of the game. The trap wasn't just set anymore. It was closing, one encrypted byte at a time. Commander Jack Cooper stood in Echo Base's Quantum Communication Center, watching as new signals flickered to life across the holographic galaxy map. Each point of light represented another species breaking their silence, reaching out through channels the Council never knew existed. The virus had done more than just infiltrate the Council's networks. It had found others who had been waiting for this moment. Signal confirmed from the Meridian system. Lieutenant Rodriguez reported, her fingers dancing across the quantum interface. Species designation 6119C, the Nexarians. They've had functional quantum computing for 3 centuries, completely hidden from Council detection. Dr. Morgan's voice came through the command channel. The Nexarians weren't alone. We're receiving transmissions from at least 15 other species who've been concealing their true technological capabilities. The Council's perfect hierarchy was built on a foundation of lies. On the main display, a transmission materialized. A being composed of shifting plasma fields contained within an environmental suit. I am First Speaker Lyra of the Nexarian Resistance. For 300 years, we have watched the Council strip mine our outer colonies while we maintained our facade of primitive technology. Your virus has given us an opportunity we never thought possible. President Mitchell stepped forward, her hologram joining the conference from the White House Situation Room. Then let's make the most of it. Humanity is prepared to share our nanobot technology and defense strategies. Another signal joined the quantum network, this one from the Centauri sector. The Valdorians, a species the Council had classified as pre-industrial, revealed ships that could outmaneuver anything in the Council's fleet. From the Orion Spur, the supposedly primitive Cathera demonstrated energy weapons that could pierce crystal shields like paper. The Council's power was built on isolation, Cooper observed, watching as more signals appeared. They kept us all thinking we were alone, that resistance was impossible. In her lab, Dr. Morgan analyzed the incoming data streams from their new allies. Each species developed different solutions, different technologies. The Nexarians mastered quantum computing. The Valdorians perfected stealth systems. The Cathera developed energy weapons. Together, we can end the Council's tribute system forever, President Mitchell finished. The quantum network hummed with encrypted transmissions as centuries of hidden knowledge began to flow between formerly isolated species. The Nexarians shared their quantum computing breakthroughs. The Valdorians offered their stealth technology. Earth's nanobots became the key to unlocking possibilities none of them had imagined alone. In orbit, Council ships continued their patrols, unaware that their carefully maintained hierarchy was unraveling beneath them. The virus had spread to every corner of their network, revealing the truth about their supposed technological superiority. Many of their miraculous innovations had been stolen from the very species they oppressed. Signal from the Proxima colony. Lieutenant Rodriguez announced, the Council's mining operations there have gone dark. The Cathera defense fleet is moving into position. Cooper studied the tactical display as more Council operations began reporting failures. Across the galaxy, supposedly primitive species were revealing centuries of hidden preparation. The Council's perfect order was dissolving into chaos of their own making. Commander, Dr. Morgan's voice held a note of satisfaction. The virus has completed its primary objective. Every Council database has been compromised. Their entire command structure is running on our encrypted protocols. When the time comes, Cooper finished, we can shut them down with a single command. On screens throughout Echo Base, more signals appeared. Species after species breaking their silence, revealing capabilities that shattered the Council's carefully maintained illusions. The revolution wouldn't be fought with weapons alone. It would be one with the combined innovation of races that had turned oppression into opportunity. President Mitchell addressed the growing alliance, her voice carrying across quantum channels to dozens of worlds. For too long, the Council believed that domination was the only path to unity. Today, we prove them wrong. Today, we show them the true power of cooperation. The uprising had begun, not with a bang, but with the quiet revelation of truths the Council had never suspected. Their demand for tribute hadn't just awakened humanity's defiance. It had sparked a revolution that would reshape the galaxy. The Council's attack began at dawn. Crystalline ships descended through Earth's atmosphere like angry shards of starlight, their weapons charging with barely contained energy. High-speaker Zixtal's voice boomed across all frequencies, a final display of assumed superiority. Your deception has been detected. Species 7294B, prepare for administrative action. In Echo Base, Dr. Morgan watched the Council fleets approach with calm satisfaction. They found exactly what we wanted them to find. Just enough evidence of resistance to make them angry, not enough to make them cautious. President Mitchell's voice came through the quantum comm. Are all systems ready? The nanobots have been in place for weeks. Commander Cooper reported from his position in the Lunar Command Center. Every crystal ship in their fleet is compromised. They just don't know it yet. The Council ships moved into attack formation above major military installations. Their crystal matrices hummed with building power, preparing to deliver a lesson in obedience that had worked on countless worlds before. Shall we show them what humanity can really do? Dr. Morgan's fingers danced across her control panel, initiating Project Thermos. The first sign that something was wrong came from the Council's flagship. Its crystalline surface, previously smooth and perfect, began to ripple like water disturbed by rain. Throughout the fleet, billions of nanobots activated simultaneously, following programs written months ago. What is happening? Zixtal's voice had lost its artificial calm. Our systems are experiencing some technical difficulties. Dr. Morgan's voice cut through their communications. That's what happens when you underestimate a species that's been studying your technology for decades. The Council ship's crystal matrices began to transform. The nanobots, originally disguised as harmless bacteria, revealed their true purpose. They weren't just mapping the ships, they were rewriting their very structure. Lieutenant Rodriguez monitored the transformation from her station. Crystal matrix reconfiguration at 30% and climbing. Their weapons systems are the first to go. In orbit, the mighty Council fleet hung helpless as their ships turned against them. Crystalline weapons dissolved into useless fragments. Navigation systems were routed to human-controlled protocols. The entire Armada, pride of the Council's military might, was being unmade from within. You dare. Zixtal's transmission crackled with rage. You primitive. Primitive. President Mitchell's voice carried steel beneath its diplomatic polish. I think it's time we showed you what humanity is really capable of. At her signal, Earth's hidden defenses activated. Quantum shields, far more advanced than anything the Council possessed, shimmed into existence around major cities. From concealed bases around the globe, energy weapons of human design locked onto crystal ships with targeting systems that made Council technology look obsolete. Your weapons cannot penetrate crystal shields, one of the Council commanders declared, but uncertainty had crept into the translated voice. Dr. Morgan allowed herself a small smile. Those would be the crystal shields our nanobots just reconstructed, the ones now operating on frequencies we control. To demonstrate her point, she sent a single command through the quantum network. Across the Council fleet, crystal shields flickered and died, their molecular bonds reorganized by billions of microscopic machines. Impossible, Zixtal whispered. No, Cooper replied. Just good engineering and patience. We've had decades to study your weaknesses while you assumed we were barely past chemical rockets. The Council's mighty fleet hung powerless in Earth's orbit, their ships transformed into beautiful but useless crystal sculptures. Every system, every weapon, Every piece of technology they had relied on for centuries of dominance had been turned against them. Now then, President Mitchell's voice carried the weight of humanity's long preparation. Shall we discuss a new relationship between Earth and the Council? One based on mutual respect rather than tribute. The silence that followed was broken only by the sound of crystal ships powering down, their once mighty engines quieted by human ingenuity. In Echo Base, Dr. Morgan watched the tactical displays with satisfaction. Decades of preparation, years of hiding their true capabilities, had led to this moment. The Council had come to Earth expecting tribute from primitives. Instead, they found themselves at the mercy of the very species they had underestimated. Their reign of technological superiority hadn't ended with a battle. It had ended with a whisper of nanobots in the dark. The Grand Council Chamber, once a testament to crystalline supremacy, now served as a symbol of changing times. Holographic representatives from dozens of formerly suppressed species filled the space, their varied forms creating a stunning display of galactic diversity. Dr. Amanda Williams stood at the central podium, where just weeks ago, the Council had demanded Earth's tribute. "The old system is broken," she declared, her voice carrying to every corner of the chamber. "But we're not here for revenge. We're here to build something better." High Speaker Zixtal, their crystalline form notably dimmed, watched from what had once been the Council's exclusive ruling days. Now they sat as equals among representatives from worlds they had once dominated. The Nexarians' plasma-based forms flickered with barely contained energy. The Valdorians' stealth-suited diplomats shifted in and out of view. The Cathera's biomechanical interfaces hummed with collected data. "You could have destroyed us," Zixtal observed, their translator struggling to convey the complex harmonics of confusion and respect. "Why didn't you?" Commander Cooper, standing beside Dr. Williams, stepped forward. "Because domination was your way, not ours. Earth learned long ago that true strength comes from cooperation, not conquest." Dr. Morgan's voice came through the quantum comm, broadcasting from Echo Base. "Our analysis of Council records shows that technological progress had actually slowed under your tribute system. Innovation requires freedom, competition, and cooperation, not suppression." The chamber's holographic displays filled with data streams, showing centuries of stagnation hidden beneath the Council's facade of advancement. Many of their supposedly superior technologies were merely stolen and suppressed innovations from tributary worlds. The younger Council species understand this, President Mitchell added, her hologram joining the discussion. They've seen how isolation and domination have failed. They're ready for change. As if on cue, several crystalline forms moved from the Council's section to join Earth's delegation. They represented a new generation of Council leadership, ones who had questioned the tribute system even before humanity's revelation. "Our entire structure was built on control," one of them admitted, their crystal surface rippling with colors of change. "But you have shown us a different path." Dr. Williams activated a new holographic display, showing a proposed structure for the Galactic Cooperative. Every species brings unique strengths. The Nexarians' quantum computing, Valdorian stealth systems, Cathera energy manipulation, Earth's nanotech. Imagine what we could achieve by sharing knowledge instead of hoarding it. The chamber erupted in discussions as representatives saw their world's potential roles in this new order. Species that had hidden their advances for centuries began openly sharing capabilities, forming immediate alliances and research proposals. "There will be resistance," Zixtal warned. "Many among the old Council will not accept this change." Cooper smiled. "They don't have to accept it. Their ships still run on the systems we control. Their communications still flow through networks we've transformed. They can either adapt or become irrelevant." An Nexarian representative floated forward, their plasma form creating intricate patterns of agreement. The Council's power was built on preventing communication between tributary worlds. That barrier is gone. We've already established direct quantum links with 17 formerly isolated species. The chamber's atmosphere shifted as more representatives moved to join what was quickly becoming a new galactic alliance. The old council members watched as their carefully maintained hierarchy crumbled, replaced by something more organic, more dynamic. "We offer membership in the cooperative to all," Dr. Williams announced, "including the council species. But membership means partnership, not dominance. Every world must contribute, and every world must benefit." President Mitchell's hologram addressed the chamber one final time. "Earth was never your primitive tributary waiting for enlightenment. We were your wake-up call. Now, who's ready to build a better galaxy?" The response was overwhelming. Species after species pledged support, their representatives moving to sign the newly drafted cooperative charter. Even some of the old guard council members, seeing the inevitable shift in power, began negotiations to join under the new terms. The age of tribute had ended. In its place, something new was being born. A galaxy where innovation and cooperation would replace dominance and fear. The Council's demand for tribute hadn't just failed, it had catalyzed their own evolution. 1 year after the Council's failed attempt to demand tribute, the Rocky Mountains facility that had once housed Earth's secret weapons underwent its own transformation. Commander Jack Cooper stood with Dr. Jessica Morgan at the entrance of the newly established Interspecies Innovation Center, watching as ships from across the galaxy descended through Earth's atmosphere. "Remember when we had to hide everything underground?" Morgan asked, observing a Nexarian plasma vessel gracefully landing beside a crystalline ship piloted by reformed council members. Now we're the galaxy's biggest research hub. The facility's quantum spaceport hummed with activity as representatives from over 100 worlds arrived for the official inauguration. The former Echo Base had been transformed into a sprawling complex of laboratories, research centers, and collaborative spaces, each designed to accommodate the unique needs of different species. "Latest numbers from the cooperative database?" Cooper asked, watching a group of Valdorian scientists shimmer into view near the main entrance. Dr. Morgan checked her quantum tablet. 317 major technological breakthroughs in the past year alone. Turns out when you let species innovate together, instead of forcing them to hide their advances, progress happens exponentially. President Mitchell's motorcade arrived, accompanied by an honor guard that included both human and alien representatives. The symbolism wasn't lost on anyone. This was diplomacy of a new era. The Council's greatest mistake, Mitchell commented as she joined them, was thinking that power flowed from control. They never understood that true power comes from collaboration. Inside the main atrium, formerly hostile species worked side by side. Kethera energy specialists collaborated with Council crystal engineers, their combined expertise creating power systems that neither could have developed alone. Nexarian quantum computers interfaced with human nanotech, processing data in ways that redefined the possible. Dr. Williams approached from one of the research wings, her expression bright with excitement. The Valdorian Human Stealth Project just achieved full success. We've managed to combine their phase shift technology with our nanobot control systems. The applications for space exploration are revolutionary. The central display showed a real-time map of the growing cooperative. Green lights indicated former tributary worlds now operating as full partners in the new galactic society. The Council's old territory had transformed into a network of interconnected research hubs, trade routes, and cultural exchange centers. Latest report from the Education Initiative. Cooper asked. 17,000 students from 43 species enrolled in the first semester, Williams replied. They're not just learning technology. They're learning each other's perspectives, cultures, ways of thinking. That's the real transformation. High Speaker Zixtal, now serving as one of the cooperative's chief scientific advisors, approached their group. Their crystalline form had evolved, incorporating elements of other species' technologies in a visible symbol of change. "We were blind," they said, their translator now capable of conveying genuine emotion. "We thought power meant making others weak. You showed us that true power comes from making everyone stronger." The ceremony began with a demonstration of combined technologies that would have been impossible under the old system. Nanobots controlled by quantum computers created instant transmission networks between worlds. Crystal ships powered by Cathera energy cores demonstrated faster-than-light travel without the need for massive engines. Valdorian stealth systems, enhanced by human AI, opened up new frontiers for exploration. Today marks more than just the opening of a facility. President Mitchell addressed the gathered crowd. It marks the beginning of an age where no species needs to hide their achievements, where innovation is shared rather than suppressed, and where we all rise together. Dr. Morgan touched a control on her tablet, activating the facility's quantum beacon. Across the galaxy, similar facilities lit up in response, creating a network of knowledge and cooperation that spanned the stars. The council demanded tribute, Cooper mused, watching the celebrations unfold. Instead, they got a revolution, just not the kind they feared. The sun set over the Rocky Mountains, its light reflecting off ships of 100 different designs. Inside the facility, former enemies worked together to solve the mysteries of the universe. The Council's tribute demand had failed spectacularly, but it had succeeded in creating something far greater. A galaxy united not by force or fear, but by the shared pursuit of knowledge and understanding. In the end, humanity hadn't just resisted the Council, they had transformed it, creating a future where cooperation replaced conquest and where every species could reach for the stars together.